Hi, in today's recipe, we're going to learn how to make a basic vinaigrette, a salad dressing that's got a little bit acidic, but sometimes people call it oil and vinegar, but it's a little fancier than just oil and vinegar. So what you start with is a half a cup of oil, and you put it into a jar. Make sure your jar has a tight sealing lid available for it. And I'm using olive oil, but you could use vegetable oil or any kind of oil that you want that's just a base oil, not a flavoring oil. And so I'm using olive oil because I'm making more of a European style. And since I'm making a European style, my vinegar is going to be a red wine vinegar. But if you want to do more Asian style, you could do a rice vinegar or a plain vinegar. So I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of vinegar. And that just goes right in there. And then 1 tablespoon of mustard. I'm just using regular plain yellow mustard, and we'll get it in there. And then you could use Dijon mustard if you wanted spicy, anything you want. And then 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, and then 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. And that's it for the base. Now, if you want to add flavors, some of the things you could add is any one of these, and some of them you could add multiple. You could add a clove of garlic. All of these should be chopped really small. A teaspoon of fresh rosemary. That'd be great if you're having a steak. A tablespoon of fresh parsley. A teaspoon of herbe de Provence, which is actually what I'm going to use today, which is a French herb seasoning. So I'm going to put a teaspoon of herbe de Provence. You could try a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. If you were having this with a little bit of a Mexican flair, you could have a teaspoon of cumin. Or if you wanted to vary things up, you do 2 teaspoons of fresh tarragon, a teaspoon of fine herbe, which is another type of herb mix. If you wanted sort of a Greek dressing, you could do 2 teaspoons of dried oregano. If you wanted a sweeter dressing, there's a couple different options for that. You could do a 1/4 cup of crushed berries like raspberries or blueberries or blackberries. You could do 2 tablespoons of honey. You could add 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Or I've even seen people do a tablespoon of fresh mint. And so all these give you lots of variety to your dressing. But once you've got your ingredients in your jar, you can just seal it up. And like I said, make sure your jar is really well sealed. And if you had a blender, you could do this in a blender, and that would work fine. But then you just shake it really good. And if you're using dried herbs, it's good to do this and then let it sit for a couple hours to let those herbs rehydrate just a little bit. But you can use it right away. It's not that big of a deal. And then when you're done, you have this really good dressing. It's maybe a little stronger than some of the dressing you're used to. But so try it, and then that's it. That's your dressing. All the different options you have to add to it. And this makes a really quick, easy salad dressing.